I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It's Tuesday, May 20th. Hello, kiddos. How's everybody doing on this fine Tuesday extravaganza? Thank you for watching and listening live. If you are watching there on Twitter and YouTube, YouTube chat is always open for you, by the way. If you're watching and listening to this later, just to let you know, you can watch it live there at 10 a.m. on YouTube and on Twitter, or you can call it X, whatever you want, okay? It doesn't matter to me. If you'd like to listen to it and wondering, God, can I listen to the show live? I know I can listen to it later, but can I listen to it live? You betcha. Puck Sports mobile app, download it today. If you got an iPhone, just go to the App Store. If you got an Android phone, because you're just a weird, sadistic person, go to the Google Play Store and download the Puck Sports mobile app. Listen to the show live there from your phone as you're doing other things and can't be watching our beautiful faces. Also, you can use it in Apple CarPlay, by the way, as well. So here's the deal. You got choices at 10 a.m., kiddos. Got a lot of choices, and you need it. You do. You really do. You know it. I know it. We all know it. If you are watching and listening live, you can also go back and catch up on the show in case you miss anything. YouTube, we're there. Everything is posted up there right when the show is completed. It's all up there by 12 o'clock. Just go to YouTube, Puck Sports there. When you're at YouTube, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe today. Leave a comment and hit that like button, all right? I need to be liked. Also, you can listen on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. The Daily Puck Drop, it broadcasts live every single day from the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors, they're going to take care of you. One-stop shop. They offer everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, and they look you in the eye and they give you a firm handshake with kindness and professionalism. Their old school service, nothing's kept on a computer. It's all handwritten, hand editing, hand notes. I don't think it's called editing or hand notes. I'm just trying to, hand receipts. Like a Dewey Decimal System over there at Limback Lumber. They've got the largest stock moldings also in the Northwest. They've been doing it since 1930, so they know what they're doing. Give them a call. Reach out, 206-782-3487. Tell them Puck sent you. They'll love to hear it. And they're going to tell you about all the stories of former UW football players working at Limback Lumber. They love that story. Also, you can reach them online at limbacklumber.com. By the way, they've got great clothes, too. Hats, shirts, sweatshirts, old school retro stuff. It's awesome. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports, of course, on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, Puck_sports on TikTok, where we put a lot of our clips up from the show. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook there as well. Also, pucksports.com. You want access to all the content we do, free and not free. Everything available up at pucksports.com. Sign up to be a Puck Sports or a Puck Posse member for just as little as $5 a month. We have our latest edition of the Sports Pit that came out last night, episode 9, Reggie Jaw. You have to listen to the whole thing, figure out what the hell that title's from. Hour and 5-minute show yesterday with myself, Steve Sandmeyer, and Matt Stretch Johnson. Of course, we all worked together at KJR back in the day. We're going to give you about 15 minutes of it for free today, as we do every Tuesday. But again, if you want to watch and listen, or just listen to the whole thing, go sign up to be a Puck's Posse member at pucksports.com. It's just an audio platform for the full show, but for the preview, we'll give you 15 minutes of our beautiful faces. And you see the angst and disgust there on our faces as well. Okay. And we also got Mitch Unfiltered. That's a new segment. Every Thursday, he appears live on the Daily Puck Drop. But after that appearance is over, after we shut down shop at 11:30, then it all goes for Puck's Posse members there if you want to watch and listen to the whole thing. Okay, got you all caught up. Coming up on the show, we'll talk about Julio Grand Slam yesterday, M's win. We'll touch briefly on that one. We'll get to Jim Duquette here in about 5 minutes or so. He joins us every single week, MLB Network Radio. Johnny Cans is back for his Tuesday visits. John Canzano from johncanzano.com, talking all things sports, college sports, human interest stories. You never know where it's going to go. We'll give you the sneak preview of the Sports Pit episode 9 that came out yesterday. Again, with Sandmeyer and Stretch. And, of course, we wrap up every single show with Hey, What the Puck? And just another storyline that I thought we were done with last year, but is now sprinkled over again to this year. And it's fun. It's a real fun one that just keeps getting more annoying as each day passes by. All right. Julio Grand Slam yesterday. Shot. The Mariners take out the White Sox, game 1 of that series. They've run their winning streak now to 4 games. We'll see if they can get in the game today. Rain is in the forecast in Chicago here on a Tuesday. If they do go, it's going to be the combination of Casey Lawrence. Also, you're going to, I think, see Jonathan Diaz get in there and pitch a little bit. Besides the Julio Grand Slam, really the story of the game was Luis Castillo. Now I understand who he was pitching against. I get the level of competition that Castillo had in front of him. But he looked good. Great game plan that was written on all the stories. And if you watch the game, there by Cal Raleigh, who, again, we talk a lot about on the Sports Pit this week's show about how much we just love Cal Raleigh. Just a great idea and game plan going into it. Hey, let's make them swing. Let's make them put the ball in play. Let's not get fancy with all of our breaking stuff. Let's challenge them with the fastball. Make them hit it. Let our defense do the work. They're not a good hitting team. Let's not throw a bunch of pitches. And Castillo yesterday, 7 innings, no runs, the 5 strikeouts, the no walks. Now 4-3 on the season's lowered his ERA to 3.20. You know, he's an interesting one, right? Because the standard that Castillo has set for himself, and that bar is so high, especially in that first year they came over, playoffs there against Toronto and all that, is that when we talk about, wow, he just doesn't look the same, or he's struggling, or oh man, it could be on the downside of his career. Is he turning into Felix? His bad is still really damn good when you watch Castillo pitch. I understand. I'll repeat it again. He's just, I know the competition, but it was good to see him go out there, get into the 7th inning, go to that fastball a lot. You know, we've talked a lot of fastball, I think, this week on the shows. We did it with Bill Kruger. We've talked a lot about it with Brian Wu. It's something that Adam Jude wrote about in the Seattle Times. We discussed this last week with Brian Divish. Fastball always plays. We all know that. Fastball will play all the time. Always, always, always will play. And it certainly played yesterday there for Castillo. He relied heavily on that four seam and that sinker. 71 of his 94 pitches were those 2 pitchers. Again, weather could be a factor today. We'll see if they can get that game in. Hey, I'm not here for it, and I don't like it, and I don't like what people are doing on the Ben Williamson slander. I don't like it. I don't care for it, and I'm here to stop the Williamson slander. The president of the Ben Williamson fan club, I don't think he knows it quite yet that I am the president. We are accepting applications to join the Ben Williamson fan club. If anyone would like to get an invitation, email me at pucksports.com. But it was nice to see him get 3 hits yesterday. 2 hit, really hard. The last one, not hit hard. Travels, 4 or 5 feet. Makes it there. Here's what I'll say about that at-bat, though. Because people will focus on his, he didn't hit it hard and barely got, he traveled, 4 or 5 feet. That's it. What was impressive about that at-bat is that he got down, 1-2, or was he 0-2 in that at-bat? He worked a full count. Didn't strike out and swung at a pitch that was actually inside on him and was able to get a hit because didn't want to sit there and let the umpire make the call for him. So a good at-bat there for Ben Williamson. Still, I will say this is not sarcastic. Maybe the sarcastic tone of the I'm not here for the Ben Williamson slander. I don't understand the complaints about his glove. I just don't. I don't care what metric is out there that views defensive play at third base. I'm just going to use my eyes. And my eyes tell me he's fine. He is A-okay. All right. Let's talk more baseball. He is our GM. He was a former GM of the Orioles and the Mets, but he is now our GM here at pucksports.com, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 89. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jim Duquette. We can't pay you a lot of money, but we can think about it, though.
I love what you just said. You're going to use your eyes? That's a novel idea. How about going old school eval and just watch the game? What is it? What does the game tell you? What does your eyes tell you? You've been watching the game for as long as anybody else. If your eyes tell you that, okay, he's doing fine defensively, then let's go with it. And let's not overthink it like we see some of these guys. By the way, there's a team right now that has so much analytics. You know where they are right now? They're one of the worst teams in the American League. They're called the Baltimore Orioles. It's not working out for them. So maybe they should use their eyes a little bit more too.
Yeah, that's just been kind of a growing thing here. I know people have he struggled at the plate a little bit. He got off to a great start, and now he's cooled off. And before last night, we're talking about Ben Williamson. He cooled off in the last 12 or 13 games. But that's just not uncommon. He's a rookie. Like, he wasn't going the first 13 games of his career. He wasn't going to be like that. It just wasn't going to happen once everybody got the book on him. And then they've adjusted, and now it's going to take him some time to adjust. It was just good to see him get 3 hits last night. Yeah, I don't. People have cited what his defensive run saved and other metrics evaluating him at third base. Listen, I watch it on a nightly basis. I don't see an issue with it. He has a great glove over there. He's a strong arm. He's athletic. He's fast. He's got great instincts over there playing the hot corner, which is so difficult to play. So I don't know. It's one of those weird things that has caught on here on the internet, and people have just run with it.
And you hit on something that I'm going to emphasize for rookies. And I talked to general managers on my show on Sunday all year long. And they have, over the last 2 or 3 years, and I've shared this with you, and we've talked about it. Every general manager talks about the jump from AAA to the major leagues is the biggest jump than it's ever been. Just because of how good the pitching is, it's really difficult for hitters to come up as rookies, not having seen that, because you don't see that kind of pitching in the minor leagues. Like, nobody has that good velocity consistently because they're all in the major leagues. Right? They don't have the good breaking balls because anyone who has that kind of combination, teams are bringing up to the major leagues. And so when they get there, there is a big transition. The fact that he started off so well made you think, wow, this might be different. He's just going through the normal phase, like you said, and by the way, teams get the book on you so much quicker now too. All they have to do is look at the data and go, okay, here's where he's having trouble, and now all of a sudden you get exposed as a hitter way more. So it just makes it complicates it even more for offensive players when they come up.
Hey, can we do a Andres Munoz just appreciation a few minutes here? I mean, this guy, now they had to use him last night, and it was terrible because they couldn't, they had just a disaster right before him, so he had to come up and clean the mess, which was just not good. You'd like to give him a day off there. 20 and 2/3 innings so far. Jimmy's given up 7 hits. He has only walked 8. He has struck out 28 batters, and he has not allowed an earned run. This man is on absolute fire right now for this bullpen and this team.
He does not get enough attention. It's like a lot of times, position players or even starting pitchers, they get the love, but for some reason, relievers, they don't. And like this has gone on for so long now. The fact that his ERA is still 0, like, it doesn't matter if we talk about it and he gives up a run. Like, we're not the jinxes here, okay? So people can, and when he gives up a run here soon, it's going to happen because no one has pitched an entire season as a reliever and had a 0 ERA. But like, his stuff is so good, like top-notch, elite stuff. Not just the fastball, but the breaking ball as well. Like, it's all of his data. When you look at it, I like to look at some of the data, and I did a breakdown on my show with him. That's how, like, because he's been so good, he's the number one relief story, pitching story in the sport. Not just not just in the American League West or in the American League, in the sport. I don't think there's a better story than him and how good he's been. Obviously, the slider and the four-seamer are just wipeout pitches. So I can't give him enough love, too. And I'm glad we had a chance to talk about him because he just doesn't get enough of recognition nationally, and he's starting to now, thankfully.
And he is you should get him on. He is a fantastic guy off the field because he is just his demeanor on the mound is so different. What is his personality is off the field. He's very quiet, very soft spoken, just a gentle human being, guy who started a charity effort for cats. He's he's like a teddy bear off the field, but once he gets on that mound, he just turns into this psychotic closer that just is there's no fear out there when he pitches. He's a fascinating figure and just an awesome person. You know what? One of these storylines too, and that doesn't really have to do anything with baseball, just in terms of what he does on the mound, is a guy that he was so scared when he first came up, and he'd been working on this is a lot, and you can say this a lot about some of the Latin players. He was so scared to do any interviews in English,
right?
Because he was scared how it would come across, and he worked as hard as he was working on his pitching. He worked on that, and then starting last year, I think it was like the end of last year, maybe the middle of part of last year, he started doing all of his interviews in English. It was great. It's just one of the cool stories. And I think it just gives you another insight, a window into his personality and work ethic.
I like that. It kind of goes below the radar. Some of the Latin players who come over here and they learn the language, and everyone kind of has their own time period that they learn it, and not everybody does. Like, listen, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., it's been more recent that he started doing his interviews in English. And now with translators, they don't necessarily have to do any of these interviews if they don't want to. The fact that he chooses to do them in English, and some of these guys, I give him a ton of credit because, there is a chance for, let's say, a misinterpretation or a misspeak or that sort of thing. Yeah. So the fact that he's willing to do it, I think it's a really good sign.
And I think, though, to that point, listen, I would be fearful of that as well. If I were in their shoes, I was in another country professionally doing something and I'm being asked questions and it's not my native tongue, but yet I know enough, right?
Yeah.
To get by. But it makes you nervous. You don't want to say, it's not, I don't think sometimes for them, it's not saying the wrong thing. It's that it's going to sound a little off, a little broken.
Right.
And I think it's probably, am I going to get made fun of for how this sounds?
Right.
I think sports fans, though, are very appreciative of it, at least the majority of them, that guys give an effort. I think that there is always, to me, I know this is not baseball. We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect sometimes, I think, with the American sports fan and the Japanese players, because there's not an effort from the Japanese players. Not all, but the big ones. There never was an effort from Ichiro to do it when he played. There's not an effort from Ohtani to do it when he plays. And I think that they would be even more popular. I mean, they're superstars, but it would just be this more personal touch, I think, for both those players. Certainly for Ichiro, and I think certainly for Ohtani if he were to go down that road.
No, I think it's a good point. I think behind the scenes, they'll speak, and they'll have fun, in the clubhouse behind the scenes. But whether it's a comfort level or not, they just haven't been. Kodai Senga with the Mets is similar. Imanaga with the Cubs, like most of Suzuki with the Cubs, like a lot of the Japanese born players, they just either don't want to, aren't comfortable doing it. Maybe it's a combination of both, but. Yeah. I agree with you. I think the Latin players in particular have done I think overall a much better job of embracing learning the language.
Right, I would agree. How was the reception? I mean, you heard the boos and just everything. Juan Soto's return as to face the New York Yankees, to face them in the Bronx. How did it go? How did he handle it? How did the fans handle it? What was the experience like? You had an up close view of that one all weekend.
He tried to ignore it. He tried to handle it as best he could. His first at bat, he comes up, the fans are booing him, and he takes his helmet off and he tips his hat or tips his helmet and he gives the old, hey, you're in my heart kind of, kind of, okay. And they booed him all the time. They were pretty creative. They turned their back on him. They're in right field as he ran out to right field. All the fans in the bleachers. Now they asked him, Soto, if he saw that. He goes, "No, I try not to make eye contact with any fans," which I don't blame him. But they booed him mercilessly there every game. He was 1 for 10, 1 for 11. He was supposed to be mic'd up on ESPN Sunday night. About an hour before he declined, after agreeing to it ahead of time, he declined. So I think a combination of didn't go well, fans booed him. He was bad in the series. All of those things, so that didn't go well. And then all of a sudden, like there's a ground ball, he didn't run out there to second base. And then last night he hits a ball off the wall there at Fenway Park, hits a ball off the wall. He doesn't run out of the box. Now there's become an issue here of him not running hard, in addition to the fact that he's not swinging the bat the way he has in his career to this point. He's OPS a little over 800. It's normally 1,000 plus. And obviously he's the highest paid player in the sport.
Yeah. That effort level that we saw this past weekend in New York, and then the play yesterday, which he thought probably was a home run, it goes off the wall, and he ends up getting a single. Mendoza, his manager, talked about he's going to have a chat with him about that. From afar, watching him and not watching every single game of his entire career, he's always come across to me, Jim, as a player that does play hard.
Yes,
but I don't know. Is this so? What we've seen here in the last week or so, or this season? Is it new? Is this effort? I never remember people questioning maybe his effort level before.
I don't remember it either. I'm watching him on a daily basis. I feel like he's a guy that, he's not busting it down the line, let's say, but he has been running hard. He's never going to look great in the outfield, and so there's some that say, well, it didn't look like he was going after, balls that hard in the outfield. Like he's never been a good outfielder overall. But he's been stealing bags, which is a little different for him. And so to me, that obviously takes effort and time and timing. So I never noticed it before this. But now it's become an issue, and it is going to be something that people are going to talk about if he continues to not run down the line like he has recently. And it kind of coincides with his struggles too. So I think we're, now, and the Mets have recently not played as well. It's a team struggling to hit with runners in scoring position. Juan Soto, by the way, 9th worst in the sport in hitting batting average with runners in scoring position. It's like $133. Things you can't explain. That's one of them for me. So it's a lot of this is starting to come to a head here at the moment. Mets fans have been patient, but I know the fan base well. They're not going to put up with this lack of effort. They'll give you a pass a little bit if you're not producing, but You're giving the effort. And he's shooting himself in the foot, I think, to some degree.
Well, the good thing is with the media there, they won't pounce on this storyline. They won't make it a thing every single day. That's the good news.
It will never get blown out of proportion, exaggerated. I don't know if you saw this. Carl Ravitch spoke about his contract, on ESPN Sunday night. Talked about he's got one of the clauses he has in there is the team will help assist get his family to on road trips, flying on a private jet. Well, that got somehow misinterpreted in some quarters in New York that Juan Soto himself flies to games on his own private jet and doesn't fly with the teams, which is absurd and a complete misunderstanding. But it speaks to there's the theater of the absurdity on occasion that goes into New York, and things that take the small little thing gets blown out of proportion, and in some cases is completely wrong, like in that one.
When you were dealing with contracts, what was the oddest request from a player? Was there anything that stood out to you in your time?
The one weirdest one was Carlos Beltran. It was performance related, but he asked for, and we gave him he had this high speed tennis ball pitching machine that would fire tennis balls at about 100 miles an hour. And we had to not only buy that machine, but we had to employ somebody to feed the machine. And they had to travel with us on the road. And he had that for a good part of the early part of his career, the first couple. That's how he prepared himself. Like he would try to recognize different colors and different numbers on the tennis ball. He would try to identify them. He had a short bat, and he would try to make contact on this high speed tennis ball machine that was thrown in. He was training to hit 100 miles an hour when nobody threw 100 miles an hour back then. That's the strangest one that I can remember.
Hey, this past weekend, we touched on already with Yankees and Mets. What a great rivalry weekend for the sport, right? We hear all the time, and with the, always the mainstream media. Now I sound like one of these political talk shows, but you always hear about where baseball is being pushed to the back, and it's, the ratings aren't there anymore. But boy, I mean, these were record TV numbers this past weekend. Just a great idea of, from baseball to go through that. And, Yankees and Mets was just highlighted that weekend, especially the game on Sunday, the Bellinger, all of that. It just felt like a big playoff atmosphere. I think it was Sunday where they had Brandon Nimmo mic'd up. He was terrific. My God, I could listen to Brandon Nimmo be mic'd up for every single game.
For sure.
It just was a fun environment this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was a little skeptical, like, we've had these matchups, before this, when the sport never really made it much before, but it was also, I feel like, in different weekends. It was sporadic. It was never, you never seemed to be all condensed into one. And, I feel like with, to throw a little attention towards the NBA, just in the fact that, they have that in-season tournament that ends up culminates in Vegas, and, to try to break up the monotony of the season. I feel like with this type of rivalry type thing, it has a chance to grow. Maybe not like that, what they did in the NBA, but just more attention on it and create a little, maybe another level of interest. The numbers were there, like you said, on TV. The attendance was there. Great. I think we've seen early in baseball too, the attendance has really risen here in a lot of different markets. So the sport has been trending up here. It started happening last year, and it's continued this year.
And I know it's early, Jim, but I mean, we have some great division races shaping up right now. Yep. I mean, some great ones that have a chance between, long-standing rivals. I mean, if you look at, the American League East, you're going to have the Yankees and the Red Sox separated by 4 games or so. You got the Phillies and Mets now. You think it would just be those two, but then here come the Braves now. We thought the Braves were going to be done at the beginning of the season. They're coming around. Look at the NL Central. You got the Cubs and Cardinals. I mean, there might not be a better rivalry in the sport than those two. And then you look at the NL West. You got the Dodgers. It's not only just the Dodgers, but it's the Padres, the Giants. Those are the headliners. I mean, the D-backs are in there as well. M's and Astros separated only by a couple of games. So, again, I know it's early, but, boy, you got a chance that all of those could go right down to the wire final week of the season, which would be great for the sport.
That's what you hope, right? And I think that, I think we'll have a number of those go right down to the end. The expanded wild card, the extra round of that, it's a little bit easier. You get more teams going in, another team going in each league, which I think is a positive too. Creates, an excitement level. And there's a lot of different, stories. Like the Tigers story is amazing right now. They have the best record in the sport. When Detroit is good, their fan base is electric. They show up. We've seen it in a lot of these different towns. In Seattle, when things are going well there, some of these other towns in Houston, like Houston, it's been a little bit of a downturn because there's the perception that they're not as good this year, but they're hanging in there as well. Texas, there's so many different stories. When baseball is good in New York, I mean, those places are electric and selling out. So there are a lot of stories like that. And the one place you brought up the Cardinals. Cardinals so far, the attendance is down. That's because they didn't do anything last winter. Like their front office, they signed 0 free agents. And surprisingly, they're playing really well. And I think eventually their fan base will embrace that team if they can, continue their success.
We didn't talk about this last week. I think it probably came out after this. Pete Rose, obviously they lifted his lifetime ban. What do you think this means? Do you think the special committee, the Veterans Committee, will ultimately vote him in?
I think that's the great question. So I've been saying this from the very beginning. I always felt that Major League Baseball, because it's different when you're banned from the sport. He was also on the ineligible list for the Hall of Fame. I view them as two separate things, right? Mm-hmm. So the Hall created this rule. It was mostly because of the Pete Rose rule, where you were ineligible to be voted on if you were on the permanently ineligible list on Major League Baseball. They didn't have to create that rule. They did it so they didn't have to vote on Pete. But I think now that he's off the list, which I thought was the right thing, let the writers vote for this. It's not going to happen. But I thought all along, all right, the voters never had the chance to vote him in or not. They were so allow them the opportunity to do it. That should have been step one for me. And if they didn't vote him in, then go to the ERA committee. They're skipping that, and I personally don't like it. I think that the writers should be allowed to. They've gotten a lot right. And a lot of times, I think in the PED era, when you came up as testing positive or you were on the Mitchell report, they made a statement. And I think the Hall and the players that are currently in the Hall, they agreed, right? They had a committee and none of the guys, Clemens, Bonds, none of them got in the first time around. I think the writers should have had a chance, but that's not going to be the case. I don't know if Rose is going to get in.
So you think
really
he's
weird?
Yeah, it sounds like you think he would stand a better chance with the writers than the Errors Committee.
I think it's up in the air to me if the writers would vote him in or not. But I feel like they should be given the first shot at it, because that's how it's always gone with any of these guys. But currently with the era, it's going to be, what is it, 27, right? The December 27th is when they'll vote on it. And I really feel like it depends on the makeup of that committee, right? So if you get, let's say, some Reds Hall of Famers on there, let's say, Tony Perez, right? He's in the Hall, I believe. I'm trying to think of guys that are in the Hall. Oh, Johnny Bench. Like, I wonder if they would vote in their teammate. I think they would, but some of the front office executives, I don't think will.
Right.
So like, I know I read that rule every year when I was an executive, the Article 21. I called it the Pete Rose rule. That's how we knew it. No gambling on baseball. If you gamble on baseball, you're banned for life. So if I were in that situation now, I'd have a hard time voting him in. And as a player, he's a slam dunk guy. I'm glad I'm not in that position to have to vote, honestly.
It's a fascinating case study. It's not going to go away. It's everyone's, like in the sports radio business, it's everyone's favorite topic into July. Should Pete Rose get in the Hall of Fame? And now it's not over yet. You can still continue to do it. Hey, a couple last things for you. Bigger picture, Dodgers, why can't they develop pitching? It's the same story every year with them. They spend, and they all get hurt. But there's a problem with all their guys getting hurt all the time. There has to be something from an organizational standpoint that they are failing on where they don't have enough healthy pitchers every single year.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think, they're chasing velocity and they're chasing spin like a lot of teams and a lot of players are, a lot of pitchers are. Spin rate and, and that type of, max effort year in and year out, I think has shown there's more of a propensity of guys getting injured in that area. And I'm stunned that they're as smart as they are and they haven't figured this out.
Yeah.
And Andrew Friedman, their president of baseball operations, he says it's not pretty, and it's not pretty. They have spent more money on pitchers that are on the injured list. Like if you started to add up how much total dollars committed they have, it's more than what the Marlins are paying on their roster.
Yeah.
Just for pitchers on the injured list. That's absurd.
Yeah. Let's stay. This thing. Other one I was going to bring up is the experiment that's happening in the single A down in Florida, with the new technology about check swings. Let's table that to next week. Yes, we'll do a show next week. All right, Jim, you're the best.
Right.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Talk to you later.
There he is, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, RGM, Sirius XM, channel 89. Yeah, if you don't, there's a story. Came out today, Wall Street Journal. MLB will experiment replays on check swings in the single A level down there in Florida. And then the automated balls and strikes, I think, and we'll talk to Jim about this next week, should be put into play next year. It was in spring training, and it was, that was great. You can sit there and challenge whether or not you had a ball or strike. All right, he is this next guest. You know what he is? He's all balls, no strikes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's John Canzano, who joins us for his weekly visit, johncanzano.com. John Canzano, BFT, the bald-faced truth, the radio there in Portland, Oregon, 750 the game, 3 to 6 p.m. every single day. Yeah, you were all balls, no strikes.
Thanks, man. I think.
Hey, what position did you play when you were playing?
In college, I played outfield. I played left field at my college team. So, but I had, I played community college baseball. I had a manager at one time that let me play all 9 positions in a game. Every inning I switched. And
awesome.
Because I grew up, my dad played professional baseball. He was in AAA with the Mets in 1969 when they won the World Series. And one of his big things was he wanted me to understand the game. And so when I was a little leaguer, he had me play catcher. He had me learn third base, shortstop, middle infield, outfield positions. I pitched a tiny little bit.
That's smart.
But so by the time I got to community college, I was comfortable, seeing the game from every position. I think kids should do that. I think you should play, you don't have to play 9 positions, but play the outfield a little bit, play the infield.
Sure.
It's great if you can catch because, coach and team. The catcher sees the whole field. The catcher has an understanding of the game that nobody else has.
Yeah, it's fun. The Pete Rose. I don't think we talked about this last week. I mean, you're a huge baseball fan, obviously.
I got a vote. I have a vote in the Hall of Fame vote, but I'm not on that committee that would put Rose in or not. So,
but let's say they did allow it for writers to vote him in. What would you do?
Well, I disagree with the last guest you had on, with all respect, but he mentioned it. It was a lifetime ban. Pete Rose the rule was you're banned for life. It didn't say you're banned for all of eternity and damned to hell. And so I think he served that punishment. He had a lifetime ban. He didn't get the satisfaction of being into the Hall of Fame. But from my viewpoint, the Hall of Fame's a museum, Puck. It is, it's Cooperstown. It tells the story of baseball. If you've ever been to the Hall of Fame or even the Negro League Hall of Fame in Kansas City, you walk through and you get an understanding of what was happening in our country, what was happening in the game, the ethics, the values, the morality of culture by being in those museums. And I think Pete Rose has a place in that. I do think it should be noted if and when he's inducted that he was banned from baseball for life for betting on baseball. He broke the cardinal rule and did not get into the Hall of Fame in his life, but it's part of the history of baseball. He's got more hits than anyone. Like Shoeless Joe Jackson, who has the 4th highest all-time career batting average. They both belong in there. And it's part of the story, but tell the story, ugliness included. Pete Rose was kind of a scumbag, but man, could he hit.
Yeah. Do we believe, though, because what at the heart of the issue with him is he acknowledges, I bet on baseball, which, again, was illegal at the time. Well, it's still illegal now. They can't bet on it, even though that they've obviously have the relationship with all the gambling outlets that they do now. But he says he never bet on them to lose. See, I don't believe him because he's a notorious liar, and it had been his entire life. So I never believe that, and I don't know if that changes anyone's opinion about him. It's one of these topics that I sometimes I'm on the fence so much on.
Sure.
Because there are not good people in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, racists and the worst.
But I guess for him, if he did, which I don't, I do believe that he probably did. If he did bet on them to lose, see, I think to me that just that tarnishes the game and
it
the
does.
respect for the game.
It does. But are you putting Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame as a manager? Or are you putting him in there as a hitter? Yeah. And here's the other thing: even if he didn't bet against his team, damn well, Puck, that if he bet on his team, he was coaching and managing that game like it was Game 7 of the World Series, and he was going to the bullpen, and there was a negative net impact on your team when you manage a game like that. And so I think he was a super competitive guy. You could tell by the way he played. Ask Ray Fosse, that all-star game where he just barrels into the catcher. And, I got a chance to sit with him one-on-one. He came, he's doing his book tour, and he came out to Oregon, and I found him in Eugene sitting in a lounge at a bar stool. And I didn't like the guy as a person. I just found him kind of scummy. And you're right. There's just some ethics issues there. And we don't really know what he was into. But he had, I think, that sort of same competitive drive that Michael Jordan had, that X factor that George Plimpton wrote about. And, Jordan, notorious gambler on the golf course too. And so I just think these are guys that would always bet on themselves and always try to find an angle. And the competition itself was probably not enough for him. But you can't argue with the fact that the guy just had more hits than anybody. And how do you not have the guy who had more hits than anybody in the Hall of Fame? And I'll go further. I think Barry Bonds should be in there as well. But tell the ugly story. Like, he was part of this tarnished era of baseball. Tell the real story. It's supposed to be a museum, but
would think if they ever, and I agree, and this is what makes it always just a fascinating topic, because I agree with all of that. I think that no one would ever argue what he did on the diamond.
Yeah.
His competitive fire. I mean, there might have not been a more competitive player that ever put on a glove, ever put on baseball cleats than Pete Rose. Ever. And so you admire that, the way he played the game. I mean, you brought up Ray Fosse, the way he played an all-star game, for God. I mean, no one plays that hard anymore in an all-star game like he did. If they were to put those guys in, would it be appropriate on the plaque to mention it?
Yeah, I think you have to tell the ugly history. That's part of any museum you go into, right? Sure. Like you're going to go into museums where you see things that are unsavory. And sometimes they're reminders of a dark time in our history, and people who are misbehaving, and people who lost their way. And, you have genocides, and you have, the ability to honestly tell the story is not just something that, like, hey, we all kind of prefer. It's something that I think fans deserve. Tell the story of how baseball lost its way in the 90s. I remember McGuire and Sosa. I was working at a small newspaper in California, and it was our lead story every day at the top of the sports page. McGuire and Sosa, how many do they have? Who are they playing against today? We're breaking in. Baseball got drunk on that era of McGuire and Sosa, and then Bonds, and baseball feasted on that. And then baseball turned around and said, oh, these guys are scumbags. We never should have let them play. But, you decide if they're in the Hall of Fame or not. I've just been of the opinion. It's why I voted for Bonds. It's why I voted for Sosa and these guys. I've just been of the opinion that, like, it wasn't my job to police the game. Put them in, put a PED wing if you really want to go all the way, or at the very least on the plaque, tell the story. Yeah. It's a complicated thing. And we too often, I think, in our society want to make it black or white. And the truth is, it's shades of gray. It's knotted. It's gnarled. There weren't rules on the books for PEDs when Bonds was hitting those home runs. It was illegal. He could get arrested going, from Tijuana into the U.S. Carrying the cream and the clear. But he pushed the envelope, and man, he had 1 million home runs, and it was part of the controversial era in baseball. And look at Pete Rose down the way. He got a lifetime ban. This is what happens when you don't follow the rules. You get a lifetime ban, and he had to wait till he was dead. And he said 10 feet under. I don't know if he's 10 feet under, but it was, he might be much deeper than that, but it was, it was part of history. Let's tell the story. Why are we hiding from history?
Well, and here's a perfect segue. What happens first? He gets in, or we settle this Pac-12 Mountain West mediation and whatever the hell's going on. I mean, what is the latest with it in terms of the mediation between the two that started on Monday?
Yeah, mediation started officially on Monday. I'm told that the mediator, we don't have a name for the mediator, but the mediator is somebody who is sat as a federal judge. So it's either a retired federal judge or maybe a current federal judge. And the reason why that's important is one of the lawsuits that's being mediated, there are at least 3, has to do with the antitrust case that the Pac-12 has filed against the Mountain West Conference, saying it was an antitrust violation to try to collect $55 million in poaching penalties and to leverage, hey, we're not going to give you these home games that you need to survive in 2024 unless you sign this deal. That is a case that would sit in front of a federal judge if it goes to trial. And so the objective is, I am told by litigators, to get that federal judge to look at the Pac-12 and look at the Mountain West and go, look, let me hear your legal argument. Okay, here's where you have a hole in your case. Let me hear your side legal argument. Here's where you have a hole in your case. Here's what might happen if you go to trial. You guys should get together and probably settle this and save yourselves some money and some risk. And so, yesterday, that's one of the lawsuits. There's also a contract law lawsuit that the Pac-12 has raised against the Mountain West. And then thirdly, there's a lawsuit in Denver that is Colorado State, Utah State, and Boise State suing the Mountain West over the exit fees. Like, are the exit fees 18 million? Are they 38 million? They would like to negotiate down the exit fees. I'm told all of those things are being mediated together. I'm also being told it could be that, they went into the night last night. I don't know that. It could be that, this could be settled here in the next 48 hours. I'm kind of on call because I do think we're either one way or another going to get, hey, they are continuing to mediate, which is a good sign that they're working towards a settlement, or they're just not getting anywhere. They've called it after 2 days. Puck, I think we all expect this is going to get settled. It's just a matter of where it lands. And UNLV hanging in the balance too. Like, I'm sure that the schools are interested. I would love to know if UNLV is in the room as part of the mediation, because they could potentially be negotiating their exit fee as well.
Sure. And I think that's the best case scenario, that they resolve their mediation here between the two conferences, and then it ends up being UNLV joining the Pac-12. I think we would all agree that would be the best case scenario for the new Pac-12.
Yes. And it's interesting because Washington State and Oregon State, if you look at their 2026 and 2027 schedules, they're starting to schedule 4 non-conference opponents. And I found that very interesting that, and I asked, a source at one of those two schools, I said, should I be reading into that? Does that mean you're only taking one and you're going to need extra non-conference games and you're starting to line those up? And I was told that, no, don't read too deeply into it. If it is just one school, yes, they're going to need to have like 4 or 5 non-conference games, depending on how they arrange the conference schedule. So I think they are doing some preventative scheduling into the future. But simultaneously, I think the hope of the Pac-12 is that, they have 10 football playing schools, right? And so that would be, you add one full-time member and maybe you go after Memphis and Tulane as football only members, or maybe Texas State as a football only member and you get a toe into Texas. But so I think, though, the dream scenario would be UNLV and then maybe a Texas State or UTSA or a Memphis and Tulane playing football only.
Best case for them, would they like this to be resolved before they kick it off for this season?
Oh yeah, I think they need it resolved like now. Like,
I mean, I want it resolved now, but who knows? We always kick this we kick the can down the road with this whole thing.
It is, but there are deadlines, and July 1, 2026 is a firm deadline where you have to have 8 all sports schools, and right now they have 7. Right. And in order to get there, though, there's about a year of onboarding, and I am told that the Pac-12 just is not comfortable going beyond July 1 of 25 without knowing who's in the conference. Now, Puck, I think they probably already know who's in the conference, and I think that they're waiting for this mediation and the settlement, because it doesn't help the Pac-12 if they come out and say, hey, we've got a great TV deal, we're getting a ton of money, better than expected, look at who's in the conference. That does not help your leverage position in mediation. So I think the more likely scenario is the Pac-12 has a very strong idea of what it wants to do. It's trying to hammer down the mediation. Media companies are sitting on the side, Puck. They're going to want to know who's in the conference before they sign those deals. And I think they probably have a strong idea of where the Pac-12 is leaning. We
got to get, speaking of just more college athletics and college sports, this White House commission that they're thinking about forming. Do you think we get there with it? I love committees. God, there's nothing better than committees. Committees and committees on committees. And will Nick Saban be the guy that leads it? It's
fine if they do that, but I'm not really looking to a committee in Washington, D.C. to lead the way for college athletics. I think the bigger issue for the NCAA and the members is that they're getting sued into oblivion, and they need that to stop. Like they need to figure out now. The individual states like Tennessee are coming up with their own NIL rules while the House settlement is being finalized, and people are trying to say, well, these are the rules. Tennessee, this as a state, is saying, no, we've got our own set of rules. So I think that committee in DC at least provides a last resort where if it came to a federal law that had to be passed on NIL that superseded all the state laws, that's great. But I am also told that, the Power 4 schools, the Power 5 schools, because the Pac-12 is part of that, are all looking at trying to say, hey, should we sign something together that opts into a standardized set of NIL rules that can be enforced? And by the way, we don't play at schools that don't sign into this. That's sort of where they are today. I think that's what's going to happen. It's great that Nick Saban is rattling the saber in DC, but I think it amounts to politicians politicking at this point.
I did read that, or briefly kind of skimmed that piece about the four Power Four, or the Power Four conferences with that agreement NIL. Yeah. Did you say Wazoo and Oregon State are a part of that?
Yeah, the Pac-12 is named in that House lawsuit, so it's really a Power 5 when you talk about the regulations. And this actually, it breaks Teresa Gould's way, if you really want to think about it from the Pac-12's standpoint. I was looking at the CFP distributions. See, the Big Ten and the SEC are getting $21 million per school in this new TV deal that starts in 26. The ACC's at $14 million per school. The Big 12's at $12 million per school. And then two Pac-12 schools are getting $3.6 million. And yet they're on the hook for all the liabilities in the House lawsuit, and they're included. And so it's, I think, a strong negotiating point for Teresa Gould and the Pac-12 to be able to look at the Power 4 and go, hey, look, we're on the hook like you guys, and you're allowing us to take place in the penalties of the House settlement, but we're not gaining, and we're not being able to participate in the CFP distributions in a way that's equitable. And the Pac-12 schools, Oregon State, Washington State, are getting $3.6 million per school in the first 2 years of the deal. Then it's look in 2028, and then they'll figure out. I think Teresa Gould in 2028 is going to go to the CFP committee and say, hey, we are shoulder to shoulder with you in this. We should be closer to what the ACC and the Big 12 are getting. I know Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, has also said he's not happy with only getting $12 million per school, while the Big 10 schools and SEC are getting $21 million. I think he's going to use that look-in provision in 2028 to try to boost his own conference. I will be very curious to see if Teresa Gould can get some traction there, because it just feels like she's got some leverage.
I want to do you did a follow-up story on the piece that we talked about a few weeks ago, Newburgh, Oregon, the 11U softball. Here's the irony of it. We're going to be in Bend, Oregon this week for a baseball tournament. Yeah. The team we're playing, baseball, from Newburgh.
There you go. There you go.
I can't wait for this.
Just remember why you're there. It's not the big league.
I trust me. I know why I'm there. Yeah, but the follow-up was not on the young girl on the team or the coaches. It was the follow-up on and I told this to Jim. Yeah. The very impressive. Yeah. And I would like to reach out to her parents.
Yeah.
And congratulate them on what a fine young lady that they have raised. The 17-year-old umpire who is going to go play
Lily
college
Brooks.
softball at Santa Clara, Lily Brooks.
Yeah.
What a fascinating young woman.
Yeah. Great kid.
Impressive.
She is, she's the home plate umpire. All hell breaks loose. You got a coach on one team. People haven't seen the video. Got a coach on one of the teams who's, raising hell about birth certificates because the kid's tall and acting like an idiot. The adults are all losing their minds. People in the crowd are yelling at each other. There's obscene gestures being exchanged. It's escalating. Home plate umpire is a 17-year-old player who plays on the Dayton High School softball team. She's a catcher. She's going to Santa Clara on a full ride. She's a 4.0 student. She's second in her graduating class. She raises goats. She's like a 4-H'er on the side. Got a side hustle. The most mature kid you could ever imagine. She does the right thing in that moment. She de-escalates the coach, calls the supervisor for the tournament over to the field. And instead of just standing there or getting some water, she walks down to first base to talk to the 11-year-old kid who had been singled out as there's no way you're 10 or 11 years old. And that kid's in tears. And she stops and tells the kid, hey, this isn't your fault. Don't let anybody put your fire out. You keep doing you. I've got you and, proud of you. And just gives her, puts her arm around her. 17-year-old kid and 11-year-old kid having a nice moment while the adults are acting like idiots around them. And so I got in touch with Lily Brooks and I just told her, I said, I'm so impressed with you. I've been, we've all officiated Little League games. It's a thankless job. And the coolest thing ever, Puck, is I asked her, I said, what did you make for that game? What do you get paid for that? Because there's no amount of money that would be enough to have to deal with what she was dealing with on that tournament. And she said, I don't even know what I get paid. She says, I'm just here because I love the game. I want to be part of the game. And, she's going to Santa Clara. She's pre-law. She's got 3 minors. That kid is going places. And,
Yes.
I put a little bit more about it on my Instagram. If people want to see it, but really cool kid.
Yeah, very impressed. I want to read. I read this for Jim. I want to read the full quote for everyone.
Yeah.
And I would encourage people go read it. Go to johncanzano.com and sign up to subscribe, please, because this is the type of content you get. You mentioned it, and she said about going over and talking to Stevens, the player in question, the 11-year-old. She said, quote, this is Brooks, the home plate umpire. I got a little emotional when I was talking to her. People are always going to tell you that you're too much of this or too little of that. She just turned 11. I told her, don't let anyone turn off your flame. Keep lighting it up. I felt really bad for her. I can only imagine. God, I love, John, that line of don't let, I'm going to use that.
Feel it.
Don't let anyone turn off your flame.
Yeah.
God, what a great line from a 17-year-old.
The wisdom and the poise. And I know 2 former Major League umpires that called World Series and All-Star games, Jim Joyce and Dale Scott. And I reached out to Dale Scott and I said, look, umpires know the rule book. And I go, but what differentiates someone who knows the rule book from somebody who's just a great umpire? Because Lily told me that her regret was that she didn't throw that coach out of the game. She says, in hindsight, I probably should have thrown him out of the game. And I said, no, you did the right thing. And Dale Scott backed that up. And he said, young umpires are eager usually to throw someone out. And he said, the bigger thing is, can you de-escalate? Can you keep them in the game and keep them within the flow of the game in a way that works? That's what you want to strive for as an umpire. And there's a lot of mediation. Speaking of mediation, Senator Pac-12 offices, there's mediation in that. And Lily Brooks got it right. I mean, I'm super impressed with that kid. She's going to do big things at Santa Clara. She's going to play catcher there. So let's see.
Yeah, that's great. Last thing for you. Why does Phil Knight, is it just age? Why does he not want to buy the Blazers?
Oh, I don't know if he doesn't not want to buy the Blazers. I think he's saying he's not going to bid on the Blazers. I think, Jody basically gave him a middle finger when he made that initial offer. She didn't even return his call. That's why it leaked, right? And that's why the New York Post got the stories about what a horrible, toxic owner trustee Jody is. So there's been some mudslinging back and forth. And I'll go back to the quote I got from an NBA executive. There's nothing one billionaire loves to tell another billionaire more than go pound some sand. And so I think you have that going on between Jody Allen and Phil Knight. So what happens? Blazers are for sale. Everybody's eyes go boom, right to Phil Knight. But Phil, he's not going to give her that leverage. Use me to get more money for this team. No. I think very wisely, he's playing chess here. He puts out a statement saying, I'm too old, And I think I'm 5 years ago, I had the energy. I think that statement has got a little bit of poetry in it. Because remember, when the Blazers said they weren't for sale, they said it would be 10 to 20 years maybe before the estate got settled. That was a shot at Phil Knight and his age originally. I think he's saying, oh, yeah, you're right. I am too old. I won't be shocked, Puck, if he comes in out of left field in the 11th hour of a deal to join a group that's already established, or if the deal gets done and then we find out later Phil was involved all along, just not by name. So I think he's doing a smart thing here, because if he's in this and he's a bidder, it's just going to drive the price of the franchise up. So I think he came out nice and early and said, oh, no, I'm not interested. I gotta see that to believe it.
Okay, what's in the oven? What do you got coming up next at johncanzano.com?
I am hot after this youth sports scene. There are a number of coaches, your viewers probably all know coaches, who have been forced out of jobs by the angry mob, by parents who are upset about playing time and the politics on campus. I've got a couple of coaches who are talking openly about that and how the NIL world is creeping into high school sports. I'm going to write a little bit about that. I'll be all over the Pac-12 and Mountain West settlement discussions. And then I am pivoting towards, the college football season in a big way. So I'll have all that for anybody who's interested.
Well, I'm interested. JohnCanzano.com. Go sign up today. All right, my friend. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, sir.
Take care.
There he is, John Canzano from JohnCanzano.com. You want to talk about money well spent, terrific writing, the human interest stories, sports, columns, investigative reporting. There simply is no one better in the United States of America covering sports than that man right there. And he joins us every single Tuesday. And of course, and he's doing a radio show. I mean, I do this little project, and I think at the end of the day, I'm worn out. And this guy is doing a show and writing, doesn't sleep. JohnCanzano.com is the website. Radio show, Bald Face Truth in Portland, Oregon, 3 to 6 every single day. All right. The Sports Pit is out this week. Now, by the way, a little over an hour with myself, Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson. Episode 9. I can't believe we've done 9 of these already. And it is, if you want to be entertained, and I think it's the most entertaining thing we do here, this is, 70 minutes or so. I think we finally get to the Mariners and not really just like how the Mariners playing. It was more about Cal Raleigh and where he's at as not just only a ball player, but as a leader. What is his future with the organization? I mean, that's kind of towards the end. We just get into we open it up with, in the full show, you're going to hear Stretch, just another old man rant about insurance companies, which leads us down a rabbit hole of rants about why can't we have old school things anymore, like the physical ticket. Like, I want the physical ticket back for a sporting event. We also agreed, hey, you still can get this, but a physical ticket for a flight, an airline flight, still kind of something cool about that. All right. The portion that you're going to, that's for the full show. If you want the full show, pucksports.com, sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. The edited show that we're about to play for you is leading up to it. We were talking about our favorite batting stances from past Major League Baseball players. This is what people talk about who are in our age group, late 40s. We talk about our favorite batting stances as kids. We name a number of players. One of my favorites was George Brett, because it wasn't the prettiest looking thing, but George Brett was just like, squatted way down, and he just had this look on his face and this just angry intensity about him. I just loved his batting stance. When I brought that name up, it led Steve Sandmeyer, who was just probably one of the best storytellers I've ever met, to go down a long story about when he was a clubhouse attendant with the Mariners and an encounter with George Brett, which then led us into talking about, other former players that were around the clubhouse, and one particular former player that he and his other clubhouse attendants could not stand. Enjoy our edited version of this week's Sports Pit, episode 9. Batting stance. That's your favorite. You love? Is that your favorite one?
Well, Ruben Sierra's got to be up there, doesn't he? I mean,
sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's so. Or Carney Lansford,
Julio Franco.
Yeah, that's who I think I was thinking of also.
Yeah, yeah. Julio Franco. Eric Davis, probably one of my favorites too.
Absolutely.
Eric the Red.
Where's a George Brett? Because I like how he squatted
classic. Brett's probably one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
All time. In fact, you want to go story time? We're going to do the stupid bat boy story shit?
I love story time.
Okay.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
I love story.
So,
God, isn't that what we're doing? Isn't that what we do here?
Who had the over-under of 9.5 podcasts? Because that thing's going to go under at this rate. George Brett.
Yes.
Right? I think it was like my junior or senior year in high school. I forget. George Brett, at the time, and Stretch can vouch for this. You can too, Puck. The game, we had the 7:35 starts. Remember those dandies?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the game wouldn't get done, and this is back in the days when nobody could pitch and everyone could hit. And
3.5 hours.
At least.
Yeah.
We'd have a couple pushing 4 in 9 innings. All the pitching changes and visits to the Hey, Mariners lose to the Tigers 14-8. We'll be back right after this.
Ed Vandenberg.
Just absolute disaster. So the Bat Boys, after the game, you got to do all the laundry and then put all the laundry back and vacuum up the clubhouse and do all the. You're there until midnight, 1 a.m., which is fine. That's just part of the job, right? But the next morning, you had those 1:35 starts on getaway day on Sunday. So you'd have to be there at like 8 a.m. for the 1:30 games. Well, we wouldn't get done till like 1 o'clock the night before, right? So we would sleep on the training tables because why go home and do all the crap? And, like we just slept on, it was showers there and stuff. So we didn't give a damn. So we'd sleep on the training tables. Maybe take a few beers out of the fridge and, have somebody from maintenance come restock them. So like, they never were there, right? They never disappeared, right?
How old are you right now? How old?
18? I don't know. I mean,
I'll take the 18. Unders, but go ahead.
17?
Yeah.
15.
Yeah. Mom, I'm not coming home tonight. That's what stuck in my brain for a second.
Yeah.
This is the classic. This is what people do on stupid podcasts like this all the time. This is the classic line. Ready for this one? Well, it was just a different time then.
Yeah.
It was just a different time back then.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're sleeping on the training table, and at about 6 a.m., we hear this rattling around in the kitchen. There's this little kitchen adjacent to the training room of the visiting clubhouse in the Kingdome. And we hear some pots goofing around. I don't know. It was one, maybe because there were like 4 or 5 of us, right? So we go around the corner. I go around the corner in a T-shirt and only his sliding pants and flip-flops is George Brett. And clearly he had pulled the all-nighter. So instead of going back to the team hotel, he was like, screw it. I'm just going to go to the ballpark, right? He had not slept all night, was still kind of 3 sheets, not like stumbling around, but you could tell he had himself a night.
Blowing booze.
May have taken an hour-long nap. Okay, and George Brett is one of my favorite humans on the planet for this story and many other reasons. He goes, hey, Clubby. That's what they called you, Clubby. So, hey, Clubby, how do you like your eggs? I go around the corner, he's cooking eggs, and he already has like half pot of coffee down the gullet already, like 6:30. Just firing it, and he's just cooking up breakfast like just an absolute maniac. He's got little diced hash browns going. He's got some like peppers and onions and a saute pan next to him, and he's asking me how I want my eggs cooked, and I'm like, okay, this is the coolest thing ever. George Brett, I go, scrambled. You want cheese in them? Yep. Yes, please. Guy hooks me up. He goes, go sit down there. Go sit down. Just sit down. Just go sit down. You want anything in your coffee? So I sit down at the table in the middle of the clubhouse, and he serves me a coffee and just an absolute perfect spread, like scrambled eggs and cheese, and it had peppers and onions, sliced tomatoes on the side, English muffin, cup of coffee, right? And he did it for the other guys that woke up. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, somebody else would wake up.
The other 13-year-old.
Yeah, and we're just like, oh my God, no, not quite. God, child labor laws.
It was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time. A different time.
Oh.
Anyway, so he pulls the all-nighter. He's cooking breakfast. He probably downed, I would say, at least 2 full pots of coffee. There are probably 5 cups in one pot. Those old bulbous ones that you used to see at 7-Eleven. We had one of those industrial ones.
Mm-hmm.
He probably had the equivalent of 10 cups of coffee. I mean, he's just trying to get himself right with the world.
Yeah.
Right? Sure enough, we're all marveling at the story, and we're like, hey, we got to keep this on the down low, because we didn't want him to get in trouble. And this is how stupid we were. Like, George Brett's going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
George, we're really bummed out about your behavior because you're only hitting 390 and you're going to carry us to another division title. So you better watch it, So whatever. We're so naive. We're like, okay, we didn't say anything. We go through this whole thing. We keep it on the down low. Sure as hell, it's the same thing. Everyone has seen the video of the whole Brett shits his pants, that whole video when he starts talking about it. And he's like, who are we facing today? At the very end of it. Oh. Same exact thing. It's like 45 minutes before didn't take batting practice, just skipped. He's just like, God. He was like sitting in his locker, looking through like mail or something else. He had some papers in his hand. I had no idea. He had like a Field and Stream magazine, whatever. He is his hangover on a scale of 1 to 10 was about a 13. He's like, who are we facing? He was asking someone else. And all right, is he any good? He's doing that. Like, he doesn't even get a look at the guy, right? And I don't know who it was. It was like Scott Bankhead or somebody. I'm not sure who was pitching. Anyway, he goes 4 for 5. He goes 4 for 5. Drove in like 6 runs, couple doubles and a bomb. And we're just like, dude, are you human? Are you human? Comes in after it's getaway day, comes up to each one of us. There's 5 of us working. Each gives us $100. Thanks, fellas. God, really enjoyed your company. Blah, blah, blah. Just the class act. A cook took care of the clubbies, pulls the all-nighter, 4 for 5, tipped us on the way out.
Got on a plane, rinse
did the same thing.
Yeah.
Did the same thing in Anaheim.
Rinse
and
repeat. Yep, rinse and repeat.
I mean, unbelievable human being, awesome dude, as genuine as it gets. And like, there's a scale. There used to be a scale, and this goes across all sports. Of like, the better you are and more popular you are, the bigger. I'm being probably a little pessimistic here. The bigger of a jerk you can be, and like we all meet people, especially in our line of work, where we're like, we really thought we looked up to that person, we idolized that person, and they turn out to be an asshole. Brett is probably 1/10 of 1% of being an Hall of Fame player, maybe the best ever at his position, arguably, okay, and being the genuine real deal, like the genuine article. Yeah. He was just awesome. He was absolutely awesome. So thank you for bringing up George Brett's stance. There's my story.
That's good. And a real quick, a buddy of mine had the same experience with Wade Boggs, but outside the Kingdom in a bar. And the owner of the bar closed the shop down, and he calls his wife at 1:30 and said, chance of a lifetime, I'll tell you later. Don't wait up for me. And they played pool till 4 or 5 in the morning. Him, Wade Boggs, and the owner. And Wade Boggs is, whatever sheets, because Wade could pound them, right? They leave at 5 a.m. and Wade Boggs, same thing, a getaway day, and he went 4 for 5. And Wade Boggs maybe got 2 hours sleep and went 4 for 5 and destroyed M's pitching. And my buddy never forgot how cool he was playing pool at a closed, a couple. I bet a lot of them in the 80s, and when there wasn't social media and when there wasn't a camera, everyone had a mobile camera, and they were just playing ball, making good money. And he had the same experience. He didn't make him breakfast. I mean, you got him there. But there was probably a lot of good ball players who drank a lot of beer and were cool to out-of-town folks.
Yeah. Ripken and his brother and his dad, when they were all with the O's. Remember when Cal Sr. and Bill Ripken and Cal Ripken Jr. were together? They came through town one time, and I'm telling you, they probably, between the 3 of them, after a game, they didn't want to go out. They had already kind of eaten the post-game spread. A lot of guys go out to dinner or whatever after the game. I would conservatively say that between the 3 of them, 60 original Budweisers.
Oh, the original too.
Just sitting around shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Ripken. This is Cal Ripken in the middle of his streak, and I'm vacuuming the clubhouse. He gets up and goes, "Give me that vacuum." This is Cal Ripken Jr. Give me that vacuum.
With those ice blue eyes.
And I'm like, no, Cal, it's fine. You just please. He goes, no. You guys have been working. It's my turn to work. And Ripken is 3 sheets to the wind, vacuuming the clubhouse floor at about 2 in the morning. Going around corners, and it's like banging off stuff, you like can't quite navigate a corner around the lockers. Boom, boom.
Doesn't want to go to his beautiful suite at the Westin or whatever. No, that's all right.
I got so lucky that era. And everyone's going to say that. Like, all the people younger than us are going to go, oh, my God, we're growing up in the best era. And all the people older than us are going to say, oh, we're growing up in the best sports era. But, like, I know how
I think the 80s and 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It was just a different time.
I took a wrong turn at the Kingdome and heard someone screaming in their locker room, in the opposing locker room. And I didn't mean to go down this one hallway, brand new, go down the hallway. And it's Cal Ripken on his back, and they've got his leg all the way back, and they're stretching out his back. And he's screaming. He's like, oh. And the guy looks up at me and goes, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I went, oh,
Get
shit.
the hell out of here.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to see Cal on his back with his legs straight up. And I went, before my bad was something, I came up with something like, excuse me, sir. Yeah. And then, I mean, what they went through on a daily basis, besides the 22 Budweisers and the grind and on their bodies, but still those dudes.
This will come as no shock. The single biggest asshole in the history of professional sports, Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, my buddy, who I am still friends with today, is one of my best friends. When he was working with me in that clubhouse, he was painfully shy. He was a kid who we went to school together, and he would get up for the book report or whatever, and he'd be shaking because he just hated getting up and talking in front of people.
Poor bastard.
Total anxiety at the time. He has since gotten over it. Now he won't shut up. Reggie Jackson was doing the radio broadcast at the time. He had just retired. And at the time, they would do a CBS radio game of the week. And I think the Twins were in town. This is when they were really good. In 91, they won it all. So it's Twins Mariners. So they started following the hot teams around. Reggie was in town. My buddy, Rob, was the single biggest Reggie Jackson fan there was. He collected every piece of Reggie Jackson memorabilia.
Poor guy.
Posters, baseball cards, had a Reggie Jackson glove, bats, hats, Reggie bars. He had a shrine, part of his room as a 15-year-old kid, was a shrine to Reggie Jackson. We all knew it. So the other four of us, because there was always 5 of us working every game, are like, you got to ask for Reggie's autograph, man. You got to. And he's like, no. And we're like, dude, just do it. Come on. And we were working on him. It was a 4-game series. So finally on the 4th day, he breaks. And he's got a baseball and a pen. And Reggie is going through the locker room. And the rule is to never ask for autographs in the clubhouse. But everyone had already left. The game was over, and Reggie was going to catch a flight or whatever. And Reggie's walking through,
and he's retired. He's retired.
Yeah, and of course he acts like the clubhouse is his. So he stops and he pours himself a soda and starts grabbing some snacks off the rack, right? And we're hammering Rob. Go. He finally walks up to him. Excuse me, Mr. Jackson, if it's not too much trouble, do you mind signing this ball for me? And Reggie turns around and looks at him like this and goes, where were you outside? I was signing autographs just out there, right out that door. I was signing autographs. Where were you?
Fucking vacuuming.
And the other 4 guys, me, Jeff Devitt, Kevin Rooney, and Scott Burmester, were ready to kill Reggie Jackson. We're like one of those National Geographic with the lions up of their hunch. We're like, I'm going to strangle this guy. Like, all of us were ready to kill Reggie Jackson.
You knew what it did to your buddy.
Right? We were ready to kill. It was like, it was the opposite of Naked Gun. I must kill the queen. We're just like, we're going to murder Reggie Jackson. So he stops. And Reggie goes, did you think about it? Did you really think about it? And my buddy goes, I'm sorry, I was in here working, because he knew he was in here working. My buddy Rob, he was working. He goes, I'm sorry, and he's backing off. And now we're almost walking toward the two of them. Is there a problem here? We were just ready to end it all. And of course, Reggie with one arm would have broken all of our necks. Anyway, he goes again at him. This is the 3rd time Reggie goes, because now I got to put my bag down and I got to sign your ball. And he snatches it from my buddy, grabs it. My buddy's like, ah! And he starts signing it, right? And then the 4th time, he stops midway through, and he goes, I just don't understand how you couldn't find me early. And Rob, to this day, we're so proud of him. He goes, Reggie, Mr. Jackson, you don't have to sign the ball. It's okay. You don't have to sign it. And Reggie goes, boom, and he shoves the ball and the pen right into Rob's chest. And he still has the baseball today.
It just says Reggie.
It says Reggie J.
What an ass.
Like there's just the start of the J, and right before it's like Reggie J.
Oh, I forgot to put the title of the show there at the bottom. What a great story by Sandmeyer on this week's Sports Pit, talking about George Brett and then ending it there with the story about Reggie Jackson, just an all-timer. There is 50 more minutes of that where we talk more about the stories, more about the Reggie Jackson, more about, we really got into a good discussion just about along those lines of, Reggie Jackson, the autograph gate, professional athletes, especially baseball players, because that's really where, the most autographs come from. You don't really see it. I mean, you see a little bit of it in the NBA and football to a degree, not like baseball, right? It's just associated with baseball. Why more baseball players, especially before games, don't do it? It's not the same as when we were kids. If you're in that, you're 40 years old. It's just not the same anymore. One thing that always disappoints me over at T-Mobile, and I wish they would change it. I don't know the rationale behind it. I really don't. And I think it's a big time drop of the ball by the Mariners. Why you can't get in there to watch the home team take batting practice for kids? Because the kids, they're Mariner fans. Now it's great to see the opposing teams in there, but they want to see their team, and they never get to see their team take batting practice. Whereas when you get to watch batting practice, that's when you get the kids get to go sign autographs or get autographs from the players, and they never get to do it. There's really is no opportunity for them to get their own team. And just back in the day when I was growing up, and Steve talked about, I think, a little bit there. I mean, I actually might have not have been in that the portion I played, but Cal Ripken would right field line would sit there for an hour almost before a game when we were kids. I get it, man. The Kingdome there's 5,000 people there, so it's very different than it is now. But would do it. But there's just a lot. I mean, the relationship between the fans and players has changed a ton. The cell phones, the social media. I think there's a lack of trust between the players now with fans. I get it. I think that the autograph hawkers and seekers that are adults are a major problem at parks. It's a major problem at T-Mobile. It's something that I've told them they should address it. You should put people down there to not let adults push kids. I mean, I've still watched adults push kids out of the way to get autographs. I mean, some adults use kids to get autographs, but it really should just be there for kids. Anyways, long story, but there's a lot of that. We go into a whole thing about Cal Raleigh, the relationship between him and Brian Wu, and the relationship between Cal Raleigh, this fan base, and this organization. The full 70 minutes of this week's Sports Pit, episode 9, titled Reggie J, is available for Puck's Posse members. Sign up today over there at pucksports.com and be able to listen to the entire show. A reminder, when you sign up to be a Puck's Posse member, you get that. You also get our Thursdays exclusive visit with Mitchie the Kid, Mitch Unfiltered. And then also you get our MLB Insider Show with Ryan Divish, which is tomorrow. And then, of course, now we're producing the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, which is out right now, episode 7, I think, for those guys, which you can find on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Just search Graz with Gas Take 5, and you can find it also up at pucksports.com. All right, let's wrap up the show with Hey What the Puck. Hey What the Puck is brought to you by a fabulous sponsor. It's been with us forever. Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services, locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online, please, at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. I thought this would be a storyline that would go away. Last year, it dominated last year. It has dominated the last couple of years, and it sounds like it's going to once again dominate the WNBA again this year. if you watch all the morning shows and every single day, I don't watch them, but I see certainly all the clips that you see on social media, and that's why I'm bringing it up. That the storyline that has dominated the last few days, it's not been about baseball. It's not been about the NFL. I've been really about the NBA, what's going on there. It's about this incident that happened between the Fever and the Chicago team involving Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And now it's just has taken on a life of its own. The low-hanging fruit now is race that we have now played into it, but not now. The race has just been a part of this storyline with these two individuals for the last 3 years, and it continues to be that way. And we've got things that are being said now about people's spouses. I mean, it is taken a life of its own. This spat now that is happening with Ryan Clark and Robert Griffin III, and it's crossed so many different lines. It has gone from, can we discuss what really should have just been a basketball play, but now it's not a basketball play. Now we're talking about the league investigating, were there racial remarks made to Angel Reese? Now, at this point, as we're talking, I don't think that there's been anything that has come out. They've also looked into when she went to and this is a legitimate thing that the league is looking into. And I don't know if they're serious or not about what the reaction from the crowd was, unless there was something that they picked up on microphones. I don't know. That has to be it. But the league is looking into how she was treated and booed when she went to the free throw line after the incident. Are we serious about this? He was booed. Bad. Because she plays for the other team. Because she has a history now with their star player, the star player of the league. That's why she was booed. And she will always be booed because she's a villain in the sport. That's how she has painted herself. And that's how she's going to come across. And people have made the comparison to she's Draymond Green. Draymond Green, when we start looking at the levels, is such a better basketball player than her. Here's the thing that it's so funny when we talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. One, by the way, that's a hard foul, what Caitlin Clark did. That's a basketball play. There's nothing more than that. And by the way, and we play all this game and we want to say, who's fault? Oh, look at this angle, because that's the new thing now. It's come out of an angle from behind of Caitlin Clark not only slapping the ball hard, slapping her hand hard, and again, that's it. These are people that get upset about this. Never played the sport. We're gonna do that. We've all played basketball, whatever level you've played, and you've probably heard this a million times from a coach. If you're gonna foul them hard enough till they don't make the shot, and that's what she did. She fouled it so there was no way she was gonna make the shot. And there's another angle now. Then she pushed her in the back. Conveniently, those who are choosing the side of Angel Reese, and there are bad characters on both sides, by the way, they're going to choose Angel Reese, are going to neglect to show the video, which led to the hard foul from Caitlin Clark, because on the offensive rebound that Angel Reese got, he should have been called for a foul, did not make a basketball play, took her both hands and shoved the forward for the Fever out of the way. And Caitlin Clark was there, saw it. That's BS. I'm going to foul you hard and make you earn at the line for shoving my teammate in the back. But for those who would defend Reese, will not bring that video up because it now does not fit their narrative of what they want the narrative to be about Angel Reese. The biggest thing I find laughable when we talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, the rivalry. It's not a rivalry. It's not even close to a rivalry. A rivalry has to have two people that are kind of equal in their sport. And Angel Reese is not in the same stratosphere as Caitlin Clark. in terms of a basketball player. She's a very good basketball player. She plays her role. She averages a double-double, 12 points, 13 rebounds, 14 rebounds, 15, right? I mean, she's a good player. Angel Reese is Bill Laimbeer. That's who Angel Reese is. Or Andre Drummond, if you want a more modern-day player. She's certainly not Draymond Green. Not even close. But she's Bill Laimbeer. She's an agitator. She does the dirty stuff. Rebounds, putbacks, which you need on your team. You need that. You want every player on your team like that. You want a lot of players on your team like that. Caitlin Clark as Michael Jordan. Did anyone, when we watched them play in the 90s, ever think, when the Bulls and Pistons played, that it was Jordan versus Laimbeer? No, it's not even close. A rivalry in that sport was Jordan versus Bird. That was a rivalry because they were on equal playing ground. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, not even close. Not even close, but it has dominated the storylines in the last 48 hours or more, and it's simply because we just want to have a divided line and talk about and bring in other things that have nothing to do with basketball. And I thought it would go away. That has not gone away. Again, it's one of the things I just so I know many of you do it. You tune into those shows in the morning. I don't know how you do it every day. I just really don't know. From that to where's LeBron going to is it the Cowboys year? How do you watch that every day? I don't know. I don't get it. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Give them a call, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. Thanks for everyone watching and listening today. That went fast. Lindback Lumber, Zeke's Pizza, Georgetown Brewery, Restoration One. Find today's Daily Puck Drop on YouTube. When you're there, please like, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, try to get to as many as we possibly can. You can listen to the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms as well. Also, check out pucksports.com. When you're at pucksports.com, you get all the you get all the free content, VIP stuff. You sign up to be a Pucks Posse member, just $5 a month. Get a discount if you sign up for a year. Our exclusive coverage, Sports Pitfall show is out now, episode 9 with Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. New episodes every Monday come out. Tomorrow, our Wednesday visit with Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider. That's for Pucks Posse members. Also, our brand new feature, Mitchie the Kid, Mitch Unfiltered, every single Thursday in the live Daily Puck Drop. But once the show is over, just for Pucks Posse members. And now, I've been producing the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, where you can find on YouTube and all podcast platforms, and of course at pucksports.com. Everybody enjoy their Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Wednesday extravaganza on the Daily Puck Drop. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!